Good morning, Christina. So this morning, I actually want to talk about headed for Charleston for pre-op. Okay, boo. Shawadi, I'm not doing any readings right now. I will probably take paid readings later, but not right now. So when you've gone through something with someone, right? Regardless to how you look at a situation, there's always two sides of a spectrum, right? There's always two sides of a story. There's always two ways to look at something, right? But it's crazy to me how somebody can stay in victim mode their whole life and they're always the victim. Their life events, because remember, every choice that we choose to make has consequences, right? So even if the consequence you don't feel it right then and there, you will feel it later on. It will, especially with karma will affect you no matter what, right? Good morning, Melissa. So I want to kind of talk about that this morning. But I hope everybody's doing good. Hopefully everybody is blessed, vibing and vibrant this Tuesday. So, we always talk about forgiveness and moving forward and things of that nature. And I don't think you should ever hold grudges against nobody. I think you should always find a way to grow, move, and change away from a situation, despite what you think happened in a situation. Because again, there's always multiple sides. But you know your side, right? The biggest thing about it is you know your side. So I had this interesting message this morning from someone I haven't seen in over 10 years or heard from in over 10 years. And I won't get too much into the bullshit of the details, but the perception of what they think happened in the situation of our departure of friendship, it fucking amazes me. And it's just crazy that someone can hate you, right? Someone can hate you for fucking decades. They can hate you for decades at a time, and not have taken a second to reach out to you and have a conversation of the situation, especially when you leave off on terms with no conversation, right? So especially when you leave off on the conversation with no conversation, no communication, just assumptions and bullshit. So it's like, when do we as adults, like, say you feel something happen a certain way, when do you take a moment to try to have a conversation with someone and see what happened, see maybe what went wrong, see maybe what really happened in a situation, instead of twisting it in your brain about what you think happened in a situation. I think it's kind of fucked up to always, and we do this. I've done it myself. I've judged before I've known the full information on the situation, right? I've judged, and it ties into the news story, because the news story always tells you shit before they have all the details. You guys know that, right? Before they get all the details, it's like they're giving you half-assed information. And a lot of people run with it. Run with that information, run with that dialogue, and then they stick to that. So it just blew my mind this morning, you guys. It really just blew my mind of this person that I ain't talked to, that actually, for in my eyes, fucked me over, but in their eyes, they feel like I did them wrong. And so after all these years, feel the need to forgive me for some shit that I did not do. But it's okay. When I was looking at the stories of the Travis Scott shit right now, and how on social media it's all been about how he just kept performing and he didn't care. If you watched all the news and everyone who was posting shit, that's what you would have thought, right? That's what you would have thought, that he didn't give two shits and he just kept performing. Yet days later, what starts to surface? What starts to surface are the videos of him actually telling security to get in the crowd, Good morning, Natalie. So, again, perception is everything. Our assumptions are everything. It's like we can do so much damage with our words that we don't even realize that shit half the time. Because we can damage someone's character, we can damage someone's name just by what we think. No facts, no facts included, just what we think we know about a person, just what we think we know about a situation. Damaged, damaging, right? And I've seen it happen even in myself in this path. In this past couple of years, I've dealt with a lot of situations where people have run my name through the fucking dirt. I've lost followers because of it. I've lost, customers. I've lost followings. I've lost, and I've had to rebuild my name after some crazy shit in this past 2 years. Good morning, Victoria. Good morning, Sierra. Good morning, Nash. So it's one of those things that we as people have to be more mindful to not just sit and run off at the fucking mouth and talk shit when we don't know what the fuck is going on in a situation. We need to take a moment and gather all the facts of a situation before we are just going off of our opinion with a fraction of the information. It is so damaging. I'm not doing cards right now. I may do it later, but it will be paid, not free. Not today anyway. So, it sparked this thing in me today to talk about it because, my whole thing this morning was to talk about the news and talk about how it can be good and bad. Yes, you can get a lot of stories, but it's crazy that we're not hearing more positive stories. You hear nothing but the negative on the news, and the news is always giving you a fraction of the truth and never the whole truth at the time. It's always breaking news, and we'll get back to you when we know more. But some people run on that fraction of information. You know what I mean? They run on that fraction of information and then they set their whole perception on that. And so now it's, let's demean whoever, let's talk shit about whoever, let's, let's go ahead and create a fucking bigger mess than what we need to. Let's start posting on social media. Let's do all this crazy shit that's unnecessary. So, like, when do we change that behavior? When do we stop assuming shit about people just because we hear it through the grapevine? I feel like if you ever want to know something about someone, go to them. Go to the person and ask them. Wait for that person's statement in a situation before you just assume you know what's going on based on a third party's information of what happened, right? But I do feel like there will always be people who are victims. There will always be people who sit in their energy of victimhood, of poor me, my life is shit because of you. Even though somebody's actions in that situation brought them to where they're at, they will still turn it around and say, because of you, my life's been fucked up. Because of you, I've had to do this. Because of you, I'm this or I'm that. But at one point, do you take responsibility of your own actions? Because every time we make a choice, there's an action, right? There's a course of action and a series of things that will happen next. Every time we go left or we go right, there will always be something that comes next. So you can't really blame someone else because you made a choice. You made a choice and the choice fucking blew up on you. Okay, grow from that experience. Hopefully you fucking learn something. But I do feel like a lot of people tend to blame everybody else for their shit. It's everybody else's fault, even though you could have fucked somebody over and you would still sit in that energy of, you know, it's somebody else's fault. Hey, Lova. For you guys, just when we're watching, we're looking at this news, and I hear a lot of people say, um, the news, life is shitty, or life is bad, or things, you'll hear the term of um, the times. The times have changed. And I'm like, have they really? We've always had killing. We've always had murder. We've always had gang related shit. It of course it changes with the generations, but it's not any less gruesome than it was 50 years ago. It really isn't. Just people didn't know about it, and it wasn't publicized because now social media is taking over, so now people have more access to what's going on in the world. I do too, Natalie. I don't ever, like, if someone says something about someone, I never take it to heart and automatically judge that person. I'm always the one who's like, well, that person hasn't done anything to me, so I'm going to give this person the benefit of the doubt to show me who they really are. Now, sometimes they have shown me who they are, but I don't ever take somebody else's feelings and run with it, because I don't think that's fair. Because you never know if someone else is judging someone based on their own shit, their own insecurities, their own fears, their own hate, whatever's going on. So I've never judged someone based on what somebody else has said. I've always let somebody show me their true colors. And they always do. They always show you your true colors, good and bad, right? But I feel like in a lot of situations, people don't own their bullshit. They don't own their shit. They don't. They just sit in that victim mode of it's everybody else's fault. Good morning, Andrea. I think, like I said, times haven't changed. And I always say this because I grew up in the era of when gangs in Southern California were really, really bad. In the 80s and early 90s, like you could get, and it's probably the same way. I haven't lived in California in forever, but it's probably the same way. But you could get killed for wearing a certain color. Just by wearing a certain color on the wrong street, you can get killed. So I feel like it hasn't really changed that much. It's just that now social media makes it very publicized of what's really going on in the world. It always has. I think so too. I think if you're a shitty person, it will always show. And one of the biggest things we talk about is that people act like they do things for people in for the goodness of their heart. But let me tell you, would always show if you're doing something not out of the goodness of your heart, you're doing something to gain something, it is not going to work. And I don't care if it's a relationship, I don't care if it's a friendship, I don't care what it is. If you're doing something for someone and it's not out of your heart space, it will always blow up on you. If you have some type of fucking conniving, selfish ass thoughts behind what you're doing to so-called help somebody, it will always blow up in your face. Because one, spirit sees all, right? I don't give a shit what anybody says. Spirit hears all the conversations. Spirit sees what's going on. Spirit knows what's going on. We can't hide from spirit. I don't give a shit what you tell everybody else. You can lie to everybody, but you can't lie to spirit, right? It will eventually, show, right? Even that saying of what's done in the dark eventually comes to light. It just always does. There's nothing that's going to be hidden forever. It just isn't. Some things also take longer to come out because people don't search. They're blinded to what's going on. They're in denial of what's going on, right? And it's crazy because I just look at my own path and my own life, and I've had to like defend my name so much throughout my life, not even just a spiritual fucking path. It's been like situation after situation where it's like, damn, why am I always left to have to defend who I am from someone who is shitty as fuck or has done some shitty things, but projecting that out on